are more stories where this came from. Welcome back, and welcome back to Jurassic Park. Dr. Alan Grant is the reluctant hero at the center of the story. A man who loves the bones of dinosaurs but wants nothing to do with children, and who spends 2 hours learning under extreme duress that life finds a way to change your heart. Sam Neill, born September 14, 1947 in Omagh, Northern Ireland, was 44 years old when the cameras rolled on Isla Nublar. He brought something to Grant that a lesser actor would have missed entirely, a kind of earned stillness, a man whose silences carry more weight than most people's speeches. When Grant sees a living dinosaur for the first time, Neill doesn't play astonishment the way actors usually do, loudly, expressively. He plays it as a man whose entire life has suddenly been vindicated. You feel 30 years of dedication in a single exhale. Thematically, Grant is the moral center of the film, the scientist who understands what Hammond has created, but grasps the cost in a way Hammond never will. Before Jurassic Park, Neill had already carved out a remarkable career. Dead Calm, 1989, The Hunt for Red October, 1990, and the same year as The Dinosaurs, he appeared in Jane Campion's The Piano, which won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. After, he returned to the franchise for Jurassic Park 3 in 2001, and 3 decades later, reprised Grant one final time in Jurassic World Dominion, 2022. He also ran a celebrated winery, Two Paddocks, in New Zealand's Central Otago, because apparently even paleontologists deserve a hobby. In 2022, while promoting Dominion, Neill quietly discovered what he described as a ferocious stage 3 blood cancer, angioimmunoblastic T-cell lymphoma. He shared the diagnosis publicly in 2023, by which point he was already in remission, having written a memoir, Did I Ever Tell You This?, to give himself a reason to push through the darkest days. I'm not afraid to die, he said in interviews, but it would annoy me. In 2026, Sam Neill is 78 years old, still here, still farming, still occasionally delightful on social media. A man who faced his own mortality with the same quiet composure he once brought to facing a T-Rex. Dr. Alan Grant endures because Sam Neill made intellectual courage feel like the most human quality a person could possess. Dr. Ian Malcolm exists in the film to be correct about everything, and to look impossibly good doing it. He is the chaos theorist who warns with mounting alarm that Hammond's Park is not a controlled system, but a disaster in progress, and the film's great pleasure is watching his warnings prove tragically accurate. Jeff Goldblum, born October 22, 1952 in West Homestead, Pennsylvania, was 40 years old at filming. What he did with Ian Malcolm was something genuinely unusual. He made intellectual anxiety charismatic. Those stammer pauses, that rhythm of speech where he seems to be discovering the next thought as it leaves his mouth, that wasn't a trick. Goldblum turned Malcolm's scientific dread into something weirdly seductive, and the internet has been thanking him for it ever since. Malcolm represents the film's philosophical conscience, the voice of humility in the face of hubris, the argument that nature is not an engineering problem. Before Jurassic Park, Goldblum had already given audiences The Fly, 1986, one of the great horror metamorphosis performances in cinema history, and The Big Chill, 1983, where he held his own in an ensemble full of heavyweights. After, he returned for The Lost World, Jurassic Park, 1997, and in the years that followed, built a second cultural life as a kind of beloved internet icon. The lounging magazine cover, the jazz performances with his Mildred Snitzer Orchestra, and roles in the Grand Budapest Hotel, 2014, Thor Ragnarok, 2017, Isle of Dogs, 2018, Asteroid City, 2023, and most recently the Wicked films in 2024 and 2025, playing the Wizard of Oz with the exact precise energy you'd expect. In 2026, Jeff Goldblum is 73 years old, and seems constitutionally incapable of aging in any conventional sense. Dr. Ian Malcolm endures because Jeff Goldblum made intellectual panic feel like a form of beauty. Dr. Ellie Sattler is the most quietly formidable person on the island. While others stare at dinosaurs in awe, Ellie examines their droppings. While men argue about systems, she crawls into a maintenance bunker in the dark, alone, surrounded by raptors, and gets the power back on. Laura Dern, born February 10, 1967, in Los Angeles, California, was 25 years old during filming. Already at that age, working alongside a cast of veterans, and not once outshone by any of them. Dern plays Sattler with a kind of grounded certainty that never becomes arrogance. She is someone who is simply right and keeps moving forward. Ellie is the film's argument that competence is a form of heroism. No cape, no speech, just someone who does the hard thing when it needs doing. Dern had already earned critical respect for Rambling Rose, 1991, which earned her an Oscar nomination at just 24, and she'd worked with David Lynch on both Blue Velvet, 1986, and Wild at Heart, 1990. After Jurassic Park, the trajectory only kept climbing. Wild, 2014, brought a second Oscar nomination, and her portrayal of a razor-sharp divorce attorney in Marriage Story, 2019, finally brought her home with the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. She also won for HBO's Big Little Lies, 2017, proving as capable in prestige television as anywhere else. She returned for Jurassic World Dominion in 2022. In 2026, Laura Dern is 59 years old, one of the finest actresses working in any medium, in any decade. Dr. Ellie Sattler endures because Laura Dern made competence feel like the most radical, thrilling thing a woman could put on screen. John Hammond is the dreamer. The dangerous, irresponsible, magnificent dreamer who looks at the most catastrophic idea in human history and sees only the wonder of it. He is not the villain of Jurassic Park. The film is too intelligent for that, but he is the man whose inability to hear no sets every terrible thing in motion. Richard Attenborough, born August 29, 1923, in Cambridge, England, was 69 years old when he stepped onto that island. Spielberg had coaxed him back to acting after a 14-year hiatus behind the camera, and what a return it was. Attenborough played Hammond not as a cartoon tycoon, but as a genuine believer. When he says, "We spared no expense," there is no irony in his eyes. That's the point. That's why the park fails. Thematically, Hammond is the film's meditation on unchecked ambition, the God complex dressed up as philanthropy. His career before Jurassic Park was extraordinary by any standard. From Brighton Rock, 1947, to The Great Escape, 1963, and behind the camera, his direction of Gandhi, 1982, won him 2 Academy Awards for Best Picture and Best Director, one of the most celebrated films of the modern era. He played Hammond again in The Lost World, Jurassic Park, in 1997. He was also beloved as Kris Kringle in the 1994 remake of Miracle on 34th Street. Because of course he was. Richard Attenborough passed away on August 24, 2014. He was 90 years old, 5 days short of his 91st birthday. He had spent his final years in a nursing home after a series of health difficulties. But the scale of what he left behind, as actor, director, humanitarian, is almost impossible to summarize in a paragraph. The Pinewood Studios stage where Jurassic World Dominion was filmed now bears his name. Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum stood on that stage in 2020 and photographed themselves in his honor. "Darling, I lived through the Blitz," Neill recalled Hammond saying, as if that covered everything. John Hammond endures because Richard Attenborough made blind, reckless wonder feel, somehow, like love. Robert Muldoon is the only person in the entire park who is under no illusions about what those animals are capable of. He is afraid of the velociraptors, and he knows that makes him smarter than everyone else. His death, patient, predatory, inevitable, ending with 2 words that have become embedded in the cultural DNA of the film, is the moment Jurassic Park stops being an adventure and becomes something more serious. Clever Girl. Bob Peck, born August 23, 1945 in Leeds, England, was 47 years old when he filmed that scene. He delivered those 2 words without melodrama, without self-pity, just a man who sees clearly at the end and accepts what clarity costs. Peck was a titan of British theatre long before Spielberg found him. He worked for the Royal Shakespeare Company alongside Ian McKellen, who, when once asked which actor he had learned the most from, answered without hesitation, Bob Peck. He won the BAFTA for Best Actor for his role in the BBC thriller Edge of Darkness, 1985, a performance so riveting that Spielberg watched the series 8 times before casting him as Muldoon. The international spotlight found him late in that single film, in that single scene. He never got the chance to build on it. Bob Peck was diagnosed with cancer in November 1994, just over a year after Jurassic Park opened. He fought for several years. He died on April 4, 1999 in London at the age of 53. The loss still registers, quietly, as one of cinema's great unanswered questions. What might he have done next, given the room? Robert Muldoon endures because Bob Peck made the knowledge of one's own mortality feel, in 2 short words, like dignity. Dennis Nedry is the film's most human monster. Not malicious in any grand ideological sense, just greedy, resentful, and desperate. He is the inside man, the tech worker who sells Hammond's secrets for money he needs to cover debts he's too proud to explain. Wayne Knight, born August 7, 1955 in New York City, was 37 at filming, and he understood something crucial about the character. Nedry is not entirely wrong to feel overlooked. Knight plays the resentment underneath the sloppiness, the wounded ego beneath the smirk, and it makes the character land harder than a pure cartoon villain ever could. Nedry represents the film's argument about systemic fragility. The idea that the most sophisticated technology in the world can be undone by one underpaid, underappreciated man with a can of Barbasol and a flight to catch. Knight is, of course, best known alongside Jurassic Park for his role as Newman on Seinfeld, 1992 to 1998, one of television's great recurring presences. A character so perfectly conceived as an antagonist that Jerry Seinfeld cannot even say his name without contempt. He also played Officer Don Orville on Third Rock from the Sun. In 2026, Wayne Knight is 70 years old and remains one of those actors whose face, the instant it appears, makes audiences relax into something familiar and slightly dangerous. Dennis Nedry endures because Wayne Knight made small-time treachery feel like a tragedy of recognition. Ray Arnold is the man who holds the park together, right up until he doesn't. The chief engineer, the one who keeps typing, keeps problem-solving, keeps chain-smoking through a crisis that would have broken anyone else. His famous line, "Hold on to your butts," delivered with the particular energy of a man who knows things are about to go sideways and has decided to be cool about it anyway, belongs entirely to Samuel L. Jackson. Jackson, born December 21, 1948 in Washington, D.C., was 44 at filming. He does something interesting with Arnold, a character who could easily be background noise. He makes him feel essential, a person the park would genuinely fall apart without. Arnold represents the invisible labor of competence, the unglamorous expertise that keeps catastrophe at bay until it can't anymore. And Jackson, of course, went on to become one of the most iconic presences in cinema history. Pulp Fiction came out in 1994, the year after Jurassic Park, and the rest is legend. Jackie Brown, Django Unchained, a decade-spanning run as Nick Fury in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and a cumulative box office gross that makes him the highest-grossing actor of all time. In 2022, the Academy gave him an honorary Oscar, recognizing him as, in their words, a cultural icon whose dynamic work has resonated across genres and generations. In 2026, Samuel L. Jackson is 77 years old and has roughly 200 films to his name. He was in Jurassic Park for 20 minutes. He barely needs it on his resume. Ray Arnold endures because Samuel L. Jackson made steadiness under pressure feel like its own kind of heroism. Lex Murphy is the child who screams when she should run and then saves everyone when it matters. She is 12 years old, terrified, and by the end of the film, she has hacked a Unix system while a velociraptor claws at the door. Her scream, the one that Spielberg used during auditions, the one that reportedly woke his sleeping wife from the other room, became the yardstick by which every other candidate was measured. Ariana Richards, born September 11, 1979 in Healdsburg, California, was just 13 years old when Jurassic Park was released. What she captured in Lex was authentic childhood fear, not performed, not modulated for the camera, but the real animal thing, which is why it works so completely. After Jurassic Park, Richards continued acting through the 1990s, Angus, 1995, a brief reprise of Lex in The Lost World, 1997, various television appearances. But gradually, she stepped away from acting and turned to a passion she had always carried, painting. She became a professional fine art oil painter, a career she has pursued for decades. She sent Steven Spielberg a watercolor self-portrait inspired by a scene from the film. It now hangs in his office. In 2026, Ariana Richards is 46 years old, living a quieter life than the one the island once promised, but one she chose deliberately. Lex Murphy endures because Ariana Richards made childhood terror feel absolutely, completely real. Tim Murphy is the one who actually loves the dinosaurs. Where his sister Lex is frightened, Tim is fascinated. This is a boy who arrived at the park with a stack of paleontology books and a head full of facts. And even when those facts are being actively eaten, part of him is still thrilled. Joseph Mazzello, born September 21, 1983 in Rhinebeck, New York, was only 9 years old when Jurassic Park was filmed. What he brought to Tim was a quality almost impossible to manufacture. Genuine, unguarded delight. The scene where he sees a brachiosaurus and can barely form a sentence, that's not acting in any traditional sense. That's a child being honest. Tim represents the audience at its purest, the kid in all of us who just wants the dinosaurs to be real. Mazzello grew up with the franchise and grew up, period, transitioning from child actor to serious adult presence with remarkable grace. He appeared in The River Wild, 1994, then later in The Pacific on HBO, then as one of the Facebook co-founders in David Fincher's The Social Network, 2010. His role as John Deacon, Queen's bass guitarist in Bohemian Rhapsody, 2018, introduced him to an entirely new generation. In 2026, Joseph Mazzello is 42 years old and continues to work steadily, carrying the groundedness that has defined him since he was 9, and too amazed by a dinosaur to find his words. Tim Murphy endures because Joseph Mazzello made pure wonder feel like the most important quality a person or a film could have. Dr. Henry Wu is, in 1993, the most dangerous person in the building, and he doesn't even know it yet. He is the architect of everything, the man who actually built the park at the molecular level, presented in the original film as competent and somewhat smug, with little inkling of the monster his methods will eventually produce. B.D. Wong, born October 24, 1960 in San Francisco, California, was 32 years old when he stepped into the lab coat. He does something quietly fascinating in those brief scenes. He plays Wu as a man in love with his own science, someone so absorbed in the elegance of the solution that he has never seriously considered the consequences of the problem. Thematically, Wu in the original film is the film's portrait of pure technical pride, unchecked by moral imagination. The franchise eventually understood what a rich character that made him, and Wong returned for Jurassic World 2015, Fallen Kingdom 2018, and Dominion 2022, where Wu's arc became one of the most genuinely compelling threads in the sequels. A man who spends decades reckoning with what he helped create. Before Jurassic Park, Wong had already won a Tony Award for Best Actor for his performance in M. Butterfly on Broadway, a staggering piece of theatrical work that Hollywood criminally underused for years. He went on to play Dr. George Huang on Law & Order SVU in over 200 episodes and the villainous White Rose in Mr. Robot, arguably the most complex character in that already complex series. His personal life carried a grief the cameras never saw. In 2000, Wong and his partner at the time welcomed twin sons via surrogacy. One of them, Boaz, lived only 90 minutes. The other, Jackson, spent 3 months fighting for his life in a neonatal intensive care unit, as BD refused to leave his side, sleeping in a motel nearby. He later turned the emails he wrote to friends during that vigil into a memoir. It is one of the more quietly extraordinary things any actor from this cast has done, choosing to make private devastation into something that might help others feel less alone. In 2026, B.D. Wong is 65 years old, still working, still a formidable stage and screen presence, still the only actor in the Jurassic Park franchise who can make the line, "The dinosaurs are no longer pure," sound like an actual philosophical argument. Dr. Henry Wu endures because B.D. Wong made intellectual complicity feel, over 30 years, like a form of tragedy worth understanding. Donald Gennaro is the film's cautionary footnote, the man who runs toward the money and away from the children and pays for it in the most spectacular, undignified fashion in blockbuster history. He represents everything the film mistrusts about pure profit motive. No wonder, no curiosity, no particular interest in the dinosaurs except as a liability to be assessed. He is there to be eaten. Martin Ferrero, born September 29, 1947 in Brockport, New York, was 45 at filming, and he understood the assignment completely. He plays Gennaro with exactly the right grade of anxious, shifty self-interest. You never quite like him enough to mourn him, which is precisely the point. Gennaro's death, a T-Rex arriving at the worst possible moment to find a man cowering on a toilet, is played as dark comedy, the film's signal that not everyone who visits Isla Nublar will emerge with their dignity, let alone their life. Ferrero was a beloved character actor long before Jurassic Park, best known as the eccentric informant Izzy Marino, across the years of Miami Vice, 1984 to 1989, and he also appeared in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, 1987, Heat, 1995, Get Shorty, 1995, and Gods and Monsters, 1998. He is the rare actor who makes supporting roles feel complete, full people, not furniture. In 2026, Martin Ferrero is 78 years old. He never became a household name, but 33 years after Jurassic Park, you cannot watch that scene without picturing his face, and that is a form of immortality all its own. Donald Gennaro endures because Martin Ferrero made Cowardice feel like an honest portrait of something that actually exists in the world. There is one presence in Jurassic Park who never faces the dinosaurs, never runs, never screams, and yet his voice is the first thing the park offers its visitors. Warm and authoritative, and full of the same uncritical wonder as Hammond himself. He is the tour guide, heard but never seen. Hammond, with that irresistible twinkle, tells his guests they spared no expense, and the expense, it turns out, was Richard Kiley. Kiley, born March 31, 1922 in Chicago, Illinois, was 70 years old when he recorded those lines, a man whose voice had spent 5 decades making audiences lean in. What he lends the film is the sound of civilized confidence, the assurance that everything is under control, that the technology is flawless, that the park is a gift. We know, of course, that it isn't. That's exactly why the casting works. Kiley's career was a monument. He won 2 Tony Awards for Best Actor in a Musical, for Redhead, 1959, and most famously for Man of La Mancha, 1965, where his The Impossible Dream became one of Broadway's defining performances. He won 4 Emmy Awards, including for The Thornbirds, 1983, and Picket Fences. His was a voice that also narrated National Geographic documentaries and lived in theme parks. At Universal's Islands of Adventure in Orlando, visitors on the Jurassic Park River Adventure still hear Kiley guiding them, making him the only person associated with the franchise in its original novel, its film, and its theme park ride simultaneously. Richard Kiley passed away on March 5, 1999, in Middletown, New York, of a bone marrow disease. He was 76 years old, 26 days short of his 77th birthday. When he died, the lights on Broadway were dimmed in his honor. His last role, in the TV movie Blue Moon, was released the month after his death. The park he narrated is still running, in imagination if not in reality, and his voice is still in it. The voice of Jurassic Park endures because Richard Kiley made the sound of human confidence feel, in retrospect, like the saddest thing in the film. Time moved differently for all of them after the cameras stopped. Some kept building, award upon award, franchise upon franchise, a career that just kept finding new rooms. Some stepped quietly away from the spotlight and found something the spotlight couldn't offer. Some fought battles in private that were harder than anything Spielberg ever put on screen. And some, Bob Peck at 53, Richard Attenborough at 90, Richard Kiley at 76, are gone now. And the film carries their absence the way any great story carries the people who made it. That is what Retro Rewind is for. Not just the where are they nows and the then and nows, but the full human story. The grief and the persistence, the reinvention and the loss. The fact that behind every character who lived or died on that island, there was a real person with a life that kept going long after the credits rolled. So tell us, which character from Jurassic Park meant the most to you? Which performance stopped you cold the first time and still does? Let us know in the comments below. If this brought back something, A memory, a feeling, a childhood afternoon pressed against a cinema screen. Hit like, subscribe to Retro Rewind, and stay with us. There are more stories where this came from. Welcome back, and welcome back to Jurassic Park. Time moved differently for all of them after the cameras stopped. Some kept building, award upon award, franchise upon franchise, a career that just kept finding new rooms. Some stepped quietly away from the spotlight and found something the spotlight couldn't offer. Some fought battles in private that were harder than anything Spielberg ever put on screen. And some, Bob Peck at 53, Richard Attenborough at 90, Richard Kiley at 76, are gone now. And the film carries their absence the way any great story carries the people who made it. That is what Retro Rewind is for. Not just the where are they nows and the then and nows, but the full human story. The grief and the persistence, the reinvention and the loss.